And men who are that way inclined as well are a psychopathic man. You tell anyone what they've been doing and normally they have more credibility than their victims. And I learned from a young age that people who do prey on children do not prey on confident children. They prey on children that have behavioural problems, who do not behave well, and most people wouldn't believe. And I know this from my childhood, because when my family was in a reasonable state, I had an inappropriate adult near me as a child, and I was quite confident, because I even said that I was going to tell my dad. Now later in life, when my family collapsed, I had no one who would stand up for me. And that's what happens to children. A lot of sociopathic adult of either sex will say the child's a liar. And because the child behaves badly, and they can upset the child just before the audience comes or the people come, so the child is in a state, so it's got no credibility. And that's evil, because you're really using the weakness of a child being immature and younger, and especially if you can upset them, against them, so you can continue to do what you like. And a lot of women exploit men and divorce a hell of a lot. And this needs to stop. Back in the 1800s, there was the alimony outrage. And in the 1800s, there were groups of men and women trying to stop women on alimony, ripping off one man after another. And this is what feminism will never tell you, is that there are huge obligations in every society for a man to treat women well. And when you've got a woman who's a con woman, she can use that to her advantage, and often does. Just like a man who's a con man will use things to his advantage over others. People without empathy for the people they use. They're obviously quite sarcastic towards the people they use. I've seen it in my life. The woman who completely destroyed my family did that. And she went away. And always the perpetual victim. Always. Because when somebody's a victim, you can't actually accuse them. And they're hidden. A lot of wicked people hide under the guise of a victim. So we talk about equality. If we're going to actually be looking at men and women as equal, then why can't we actually start pointing out women who behave as awful, in such an awful way as the worst men do? And why do, when we look at men, we only talk about the worst men and say, well, that's what men are like? It goes both ways. And feminism is an ideology, and it's extremism. And the feminist lens is one eye. They don't look through both eyes, which is the feminine and the masculine. And you need both to get clarity. We never used to be able to speak quite so clearly because people assume that we were misogynistic. And by the way, there's the word misandry, which is the hatred of men. We know misogyny is the hatred of women. Misandry is the hatred of men. And that's a lot more common today than misogyny is. But it's building. Men are getting sick to death of being bullied by women and finding themselves, if something happens to them, the police don't give a damn. And a lot of fathers in divorce, their wife will lie her tits off. I apologise for that, but it happens to be true. And there was a woman who used to do it. She used to dress as a little girl when she went to court, and they jokingly called her Hyde because she would plait her blonde hair and dress like a child, so that she, what do they call it? Neopony, neoteny. Neoteny means that with young children, we have a protective instinct for protecting the young. Wide eyes, clear skin, young, innocent looking. A lot of women with makeup will actually create that appearance. And you can get a woman who looks like she's so dainty and lovely and delicate, when in fact she's a complete tyrant and dominates everybody in the family.